It's like water off a duck's back. That, according to The Guardian, is how one young man in the Israeli city of Sderot recently described the mounting international condemnation of Israel's Gaza campaign. And it's a sentiment that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is keen to promote as more Western nations move to recognize the state of Palestine and as Israel faces arms embargoes from the likes of Japan, Italy, and France, potentially even the United Kingdom. During his United Nations address last month to a mostly empty chamber, Prime Minister Netanyahu tried his best to turn down the temperature. Nah, just kidding.
So here's another message to those Western leaders. Israel will not allow you to shove a terrorist state down our throats. We will not commit national suicide because you don't have the guts to face down a hostile media and anti-Semitic mobs demanding Israel's blood.
Far from buckling under international pressure, Netanyahu is escalating his military, stepping up its occupation of Gaza City, and he's weighing plans to annex parts of the West Bank. Even so, Bibi has begun to acknowledge that Israel is facing a, quote, kind of isolation that could last for decades. Israel has no choice, he recently said, but to become a super Sparta, a militarized, self-sufficient economy that can stand alone. But can Israel make it on its own? There's growing evidence that the Gaza war, the longest and most expensive in Israel's history, is taking a real economic toll. In 2024, Israel's economy grew by just 1%, its weakest performance in decades, not counting the pandemic years. The European Union, Israel's biggest trading partner, recently proposed sanctions that would partially suspend its free trade agreement with Israel. In August, Norway's sovereign wealth fund, the world's largest, announced it was divesting parts of its portfolio in Israel due to the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But how can Israel ever be alone, you ask, when it has the backing of the United States? On the one hand, yes, absolutely. On the other hand, Israel is no longer the only American ally in the Middle East. President Trump has made it a priority to cultivate much closer ties with Gulf states like Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Case in point, when Netanyahu visited the White House in late September, Trump made him get on the phone, the Oval Office phone, and apologize to his Qatari counterpart for launching missiles into Doha earlier in the month. In short, with the Iran threat diminished, it's not hard to imagine a near future where the United States loses patience with Israel's regional elbow throwing and tightens the tap on that military aid. How likely is that outcome, and how isolated can Israel afford to become? The next few months will be critical in answering those questions.